The pearl of the Gulf. The old man sat on the rocky shore of Kharg Island, watching the massive oil tankers drift across the turquoise waters of the Persian Gulf like sleeping giants. His name was Dariush, and he was one of the last people on the island who remembered what it had been before the oil. "You see that hill?" he said to his granddaughter Nasrin, pointing a weathered finger toward the island's interior. "Beneath it there is a temple, not a mosque, older, much older, from the time of the fire worshippers, and before them, the sailors of ancient Elam walked these same stones." Nasrin sat cross-legged beside him, her university notebook open on her lap. She had come from Tehran to document the island's history before the last memories faded. "Tell me about before the oil, Baba Dariush." He closed his eyes. Part 1, the island of temples in the old days. And by old, Dariush meant truly old, thousands of years. Kharg was sacred, nestled roughly 25 miles off Iran's southwestern coast. The small island was a waypoint for ancient traders sailing between Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. Phoenician sailors knew it. Greek merchants marked it on their charts. The island held Nestorian Christian chapels carved into rock, their walls still bearing faded crosses and paintings of saints. Before Christianity, Zoroastrian priests had tended fires on the hilltops. And before even them, unnamed peoples had buried their dead in stone ossuaries overlooking the sea. "This island," Dariush said, "has always been a place where worlds meet." Part 2, the Dutch and the British. He told her about the European traders. First the Dutch, then the British, who came in the 17th and 18th centuries, seeing the island as a perfect trading post. The Dutch East India Company had briefly established a factory there, and the remains of a small fort still crumbled near the northern shore. They came for trade, Dariush said. Pearls, dates, and the traffic of the sea routes, but the island always pushed strangers away eventually. The heat, the isolation, the stubbornness of the people. Part 3, black gold. Then came 1938. And everything changed. Oil was discovered beneath the seabed around Kharg. By the 1960s, the island had been transformed into Iran's largest oil export terminal, one of the most important in the entire world. Enormous steel jetties stretched into the deep waters, capable of loading the biggest supertankers on Earth. Pipelines snaked across the island like iron veins. Dariush had been a young man then. He remembered the construction crews, the foreign engineers, the sudden roar of machinery on an island that had known only the sound of wind and waves for millennia. "They paved over the temple," he said quietly. "They built a road right through the Nestorian burial caves. Nobody asked the dead for permission. His father had worked the oil terminals. The money was good, better than fishing, better than pearl diving, which had already been dying since the Japanese invented cultured pearls. But something was lost." Part 4, the war. Nasrin already knew this chapter, but she let him tell it. During the Iran-Iraq War, 1980-1988, Kharg Island became a primary target. Saddam Hussein's Air Force bombed it relentlessly, trying to cripple Iran's oil exports and choke the economy. The skies above the island filled with fire. Tankers burned in the Gulf. The oil terminal was hit again and again. Dariush's voice grew heavy. "I was here for the bombings. 1984 was the worst. The planes came at dawn. You could hear them before you could see them, a sound like tearing fabric in the sky. Then the explosions. The oil caught fire and the sea itself burned, black smoke so thick it turned day into night. He lost his brother in one of those raids. A missile struck the loading platform where Hossein had been working the morning shift. They never found him," Dariush said. "The fire took everything, but the Iranians refused to abandon Kharg. Engineers worked under bombardment to repair the terminals. Oil kept flowing, though at reduced capacity. It became a point of national pride. The island that would not die." Part 5, what remains. Nasrin walked the island the next day with her notebook and camera. She found all the layers her grandfather had described, stacked on top of each other like pages of a book. She photographed the ancient rock-cut tombs, their entrances half blocked by modern concrete barriers. She found faded Nestorian paintings in a cave that now sat behind a chain-link fence marked with an oil company logo. She stood on the hilltop where Zoroastrian fires had once burned and looked out at the steel forest of the oil terminal below. An old stone cistern built by unknown hands centuries ago now collected rainwater beside a rusted pipeline. On the beach, she found a shard of pottery, blue-glazed, maybe Parthian, maybe older, lying in the sand next to a crushed Coca-Cola can. That was Kharg Island. Every empire had left its fingerprint. Every age had built on the bones of the last epilogue on her last evening. Nasrin sat with Dariush again on the shore. The sun was setting, painting the Gulf in shades of copper and rose. A supertanker moved slowly on the horizon, riding low in the water, heavy with crude oil bound for some distant port. "Do you think anyone will remember?" she asked. "The temples, the paintings, the people who lived here before the oil." Dariush was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled. "The island remembers," he said. "Even when we forget, the stones remember, the caves remember, the sea remembers. You just have to listen." Nasrin closed her notebook and listened. The waves spoke against the ancient rocks of Kharg as they had for 10,000 years and would for 10,000 more. Long after the oil was gone, long after the tankers had rusted to dust, long after the last pipeline had crumbled back into the earth from which it came, the island endured.